Welcome to today's Southwest Yard and Garden. I'm Curtis Smith and we're at the Albuquerque Police Department demonstration Xeriscape garden looking at some of the very beautiful flowering plants that we can use in our low water landscapes here in New Mexico and in the Southwest. This beautiful flowering plant is called bush penstemon, or sometimes called sand penstemon. It grows well in sandy soils. It has beautiful pink and white flowers early in the summer or late in the spring, about the end of May, early June in the Albuquerque area. It's a beautiful, light, airy looking plant that does well in the landscape. It will flower throughout the summer, but not as heavily as this. The heavy flower display is now, and then as the season progresses, there'll be scattered flowering throughout the season. This is a plant called Paperflower. It's a beautiful yellow flowering plant, flowers in the early summer. It will flower throughout the summer. As the flowers fade, they turn into a lighter color but persist on the plant, so it gives you quite a show. Sometimes these become much larger than this, depending on the precipitation we've had that year. This is cliff rose. It's a nice flowering shrub, flowers usually in early May or so in the Albuquerque area. It's going to be hardy from Albuquerque southward in New Mexico. After it flowers, it produces these feathery seeds, such as this one right here, with a seed at the end and a feathery stalk that helps it to scatter in the wind, so the plant can seed itself in other locations. It has small evergreen leaves, makes a nice flowering shrub in the proper location in the landscapes. This is Gaillardia or Firewheel. Some call it Indian blanket. It's a nice short-lived perennial for our landscapes. It will self-seed if there's enough moisture. In dry years, there may not have any more that come up, but in moisture years, they will regenerate themselves, and they'll flower pretty much through the summer. Very bright and striking flowers. This is Rocky Mountain zinnia, or called by some people prairie zinnia. It's a nice ground cover plant with bright yellow flowers. Very spectacular spring display, or late spring, early summer display. And it will flower throughout the summer, especially if the old flowers are removed with a weed eater or you came out and hand-picked the old flowers. And it does spread underground and becomes a nice ground cover, especially in areas which are not overwatered. Too much water is probably more damaging to it than too little water. In arid climates here in the Southwest, there are a number of native penstemons which are very striking, and this is one of them. This is a Rocky Mountain penstemon with beautiful blue flowers. There are other penstemons with red flowers, some with pink, some with white. We have a lot of plants we can use in the penstemon group, and we really ought to be using them in our landscapes. This is Pineleaf Penstemon. The flowers are smaller, but this is an evergreen plant that has very small, narrow leaves that look a little bit like pine leaves, so it's called Pineleaf Penstemon. This is a yarrow. There are a number of different yarrows that you can use. Yarrow is also known as Acalea. Beautiful in the landscape. Some of these are very, very hardy and do well under low water conditions. This is a bright yellow one. There are white ones. There are pink ones. And so there's a number that you can choose from in using the yarrows. Three-leaf sumac is another good shrub for our landscapes. It's a deciduous shrub, but it turns red or orange in the fall before the leaves fall from the plant. It creates quite a show in the late summer and fall. It's native to our foothills and mountain areas. It needs a little bit of water, but does quite well in our xeriscapes. It also has some fruit on it, which are attractive to birds. And this is not a poison sumac. You can even eat the berries yourself if you wish, and it has kind of a lemonade-y flavor. This one is a white yarrow. It's probably the most drought tolerant of the yarrows and does well as it is here in a grassy area, blending with the grasses. This is desert marigold, a very drought tolerant plant. It can often be seen growing in the desert without any irrigation. In rocky and sandy areas, it seems to reseed itself quite readily. Prickly poppy is a plant with very prickly leaves but extremely beautiful flowers. Very well adapted to dry conditions. Can be used in some of the driest parts of the Xeriscape in New Mexico. This is Prairie Sage. It's a good ground covering plant. It will spread. You need to put it in an area that's confined. The more you irrigate it, the more it will spread, so you can reduce its growth by limiting irrigation. It provides a nice silvery color to the landscape, a fine texture, and it's easily managed by using a weed eater or such to keep it low after it gets too tall. This is the Parry Agave. It's a smaller agave, not as big as Agave Americana that we're familiar with. So it fits in smaller areas, a little bit more refined looking, and is a good plant for our xeric environments. The interesting pattern that the spines leave on the leaf as it unrolls is part of the interest in this plant. But this is a very good plant for our hot, dry environments. Now, this is a prickly pear. It's one of the cacti. It comes in many colors, yellows, pinks, orange, even red. A cactus isn't the only thing you can grow in a xeriscape, but you can use cacti in the xeriscape. The palm yucca is very common in New Mexico landscapes. It can be part of a xeriscape, but it really does need the other plants around it to soften the effect on the landscape. This is a pretty hard and harsh plant otherwise. This particular one, Yucca torii, does better in the southern part of the state. As we get up into the north and a little bit cooler winter areas, it doesn't do as well. It begins to run into problems. As we get into the northern areas, we'll look at some of the other yuccas to do a better job for us.